Boys and girls, your attention, please.
Hello, welcome back inside Depart From A for podcast number 955, the Italian Grand Prix review. This is Todd.
No, Todd, not now.
AKA Negative Camera. Hey, you know what we do on race weekends? We do it every time.
We watch one, then we talk about it. Then we watch one, then we talk about it. Come on, Todd.
It seems reasonable to me, and especially after this week's big
controversy.
Oh, we had controversy, but before doing that, I have to go get my co-host. You know who it is. Oh, yeah.
Ripped from out of the wasteland. He's bad, he's beautiful, he's crazy. It's...
Hello, everybody.
Yes.
This is Paul Charles, the International.
It's Paul. Paul, how you doing?
That's right. I'm good. I'm a little sunburnt, honestly.
Yeah, you look a little pink.
A little rouge.
A little rouge.
It wasn't the makeup. My makeup artist before getting on here. Yeah, I was doing a lot of
color.
I was doing a lot of cooling from top of the stands and stuff this weekend.
Yeah, down at Barber.
During the races at Barber, yeah, and I against all logic did not put sunscreen on, so and didn't realize till after the fourth race of the weekend that maybe I was just a little burnt. Yeah. That's my big commitment to my team, though. That's my commitment.
You like bacon? Do you like your Paul chewy or crispy? You're a little crispy, Paul.
I do get a little crispy on occasion.
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, you know, you and I fair-skinned. You know.
Yep.
Yeah, we just burn. I don't
get it from the
tan.
Vikings.
Yeah,
Yep.
I just burn.
Yeah, there's no sunbeds in Viking land for sure.
No.
Yeah.
So, Paul, I got to agree with our friend, your friend and mine, our dear friend from up York way, Tom.
Yes.
I have to agree with Tom. So Tom and Paul and I have this little Facebook message thing going on, and Tom always keeps us entertained. But I watching, first of all, that epic wet race of the WEC with the Valkyrie was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
That was
until it wasn't.
Until it wasn't, right?
Yeah.
And then you guys had mechanical issues. And was it Dan or somebody parked up just on the exit of the pit, right? He just come out of the pit and parked up.
Yeah, Harry, yeah.
Or Harry, yeah. But I agree with Tom that watching that Valkyrie here and juxtaposing that with where it was at Le Mans, you guys have made some serious progress with that car. Yeah,
for sure. We were really excited, and it was doing really good in the prelims, in the dry. You know, a top 10 car all the way through the weekend, really, and obviously qualified for Hyperpole as well. But but once the rain came, that throws a whole new thing in, and that was fine because actually the Valkyrie was pretty good in the rain, and we were still running, top 6, something like that. But then, I think, it's a new car, and I think, after all that rain, you find, where the little drips come in, and the leaks, and that's the reason why, both the cars ended up going out. That just the rain, the constant rain, and the battle out there, and we weren't the only car, but us being a new car, you have to get to the point where things break before you find out that you need to fix them, right? So that's definitely something going to look into. It was a shame because it was really close to the end of the race, and we'd pretty much been through hell already to get to that point, and then the cars just kind of had that issue. So that was unfortunate. The GT3 car that did a great job. Drudy did an amazing job in the last stint and on the slicks in the rain, and got us up in the sharp end. So we don't want to win the championship this year, unfortunately, in WEC, which is really the goal. But we definitely got a shot at the top 3 anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I might recommend.
Hi, Phil Swift here for Flex Seal.
I'm just throwing that out,
Yeah, well, it's not bad. Not a bad idea. And in Barber, obviously, by my gorgeous suntan, it was completely the opposite weather.
Yeah.
And that went fairly well. We had some technical gremlins on the Hanna's GT4 car. Unfortunately, had to start them at the back of the pack because they didn't get to do qualifying. And but they did really good in race 2, and they charged their way up to 4th. And so that was a great run by the Hannas, and then the GT3 car, with Darren and Gray, keeps, we've had a string of podiums with them, and it's a shame because we were like in charge trying to get 4th in the championship, but it was just like the pairing and the team and everything was all new, in SRO, so we lost some points at the beginning of the season that we wouldn't have lost if we'd been at this point again. So I said we're a competitive car for sure, top 3 competitive car in that series. But it took us a few races to get all the bugs ironed out. But Gray's doing an amazing job in GT3, so that's a fun part of it as well. So
let's see, then you go to Indy.
Yeah, Indy. Yeah, so we go Indy with IMSA. That's a 6-hour.
Yep.
That's with the one hypercar we have in IMSA, and then the GT3 car, which is second in that championship, and we absolutely have a shot at that one.
Yeah.
And then Petit finishes out IMSA, and then after Petit, the week after Petit, we go back to Indy for the SRO finale. So it's all in the Midwest, man. All in the Midwest.
There you go.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I know you squeezed in the Italian Grand Prix from Monza.
Yes.
And you were able to watch that. So let's jump in, review the Formula One race. Right up front, hey, huge thank you to our Patreon supporters. We could not and would not do this podcast if it wasn't for you. And for those of you that watch us on YouTube, just hit the subscribe, hit the bell. That would help.
Everyone likes to ring a bell every now and again.
Yeah, of course they do. Of course they do. Then you can be notified when these come out, although we're pretty predictable, aren't we? So anyway, let's talk about the Temple of Speed, shall we? Celebrating their 75th Grand Prix at Monza, Paul. I mean, the first race there, God was a little boy at that point in time. I mean, they've been doing this for a long time, right?
Yeah.
And a real combination of downforce, straight line speed, how to manage the chicanes without destroying the tires. But I thought, interestingly, Paul, yet again, it showed how less effective DRS was here, given the outright pace, right? It helped a little, but it wasn't that big, powerful boost that you normally get because the cars are going 200 plus miles an hour down those straights.
Right, yeah, I mean, because they're all trimmed out. So,
they're already
trimmed out. DRS always is lessened effect, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that was interesting. Lando set the lap record and didn't get pole. How about that? Max got pole with an all-time lap record anywhere, with an average speed of 200 or 164 miles an hour. No money. I think new money's got to be 263, something like that, kph. And then he set the fastest race ever, with an average speed of 155, which is 249, I'm guessing. I'm an American. Okay. How you expect me to know this?
No one's going to say you're wrong till they listen to this, and we're already gone by that point.
Yeah, I know. I don't know. I'm an American, Yeah. We say controversy, not controversy. How am I supposed to know? I don't know how long a meter is. Well, I do. So anyway, the track, Paul, it's all about speed, and I'm guessing, Paul, a lot of the things carry on when we talk about just a bunch of long straights and chicanes. How you attack those chicanes, how quick you get through them, has a major impact. Period. Total lap time, obviously, that's obvious. But getting a slow exit, taking too long to get that car to rotate to get it straight so you can really put the power down, it just drags all the way down. There's kind of like, some of those errors that just continue to compound it.
Right.
Like
compounding errors for sure.
Yeah. So it's I love the track. It's a great race. Nobody goes in there not loving just the sheer speed and the visceral nature of that track.
Right.
It's fantastic. Fans are always
race car
great.
Drives like going fast.
Yes,
they do. That's
do.
where we like places like Elkhart Lake and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We also can't discount the fact of, the effectiveness of downforce on braking. I mean, we're all talking about exiting the corner, but you still need that compromise because you can't just take all the wing out because you'd be braking basically at the start-finish line. So there's a lot of lap time in the braking, so they really do have to keep working on what these cars are capable of and where those compromises are and how far you want to take them.
You could see quite a bit of that. You probably didn't get to see the free practice, but you could see quite a bit that FP1, even really kind of FP2. A lot of the guys were missing turn one. They were going through the styrofoam chicane and missing it, trying to dial those cars in to get them right at the sweet spot of where the braking is and with the right amount of downforce. So you saw quite a bit of that. Well, let's jump in at the sharp end of the grid. We'll start off with Red Bull, Max Verstappen, P1, Yuki Tsunoda in P13. Paul, Laurent Mekies said that Max pushed the team on setup, pushed them towards a sort of unique setup change that seemed to work. It certainly gave him pole position, but also gave him nearly a 20-second lead at the end of the race, 19 and change. At the heart of this is really, when you think about McLaren's pace advantage, they're super great on those medium speed corners, is where they just really claw the time out of it. And as it turns out, there's none of those here, right?
Yeah.
So they didn't have that advantage. As many of the pundits suggested, Red Bull had a very tough race here last year. So they brought a bespoke rear wing for Monza this year.
Yeah.
And you could see them tweaking it all weekend in the free practice sessions. And it wasn't until really FP3 that they absolutely nailed it. I think they finally got that front wing sort of trimmed out to where it sort of just, boom, it lit up with the rear wing and made that car and the balance and everything. And then even their tire wear and those kind of things. I just think they just nailed that sweet spot, Paul. And then he just, put it on pole commandingly. He had that turn one battle with Lando, saw him go wide, ceding the position back, but then made quick work of Lando to regain the lead. And while I kind of felt like, Paul, that Max could have made the case and could have been a little upset about having the team asking him to cede the position. He could have made the case that Lando came in way too hot, ran out wide, and forced him off. And maybe that's the case, but I have to think that the team made the right call in total, really kind of banking on that newfound performance that they had and the hands of Max Verstappen, right? And I think that
Right. Yeah, you definitely have to have confidence in what the car's going to do, else you wouldn't relinquish it that easily, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. I mean, he clearly had the pace in the straight line, and I was watching his onboards earlier in some of the practice, and as they were tweaking that, he clearly, straight line speed wasn't an issue. But I was thinking, Paul, that a lot of times when you trim him out that much to have all that straight line speed, then you end up with a lot of understeer in the corners and that kind of thing. If your balance isn't right, or maybe you get snap oversteer with the rear, or whatever it might be. My point is
Rule of the above, yeah.
Yeah, my point is,
Just
Paul,
that
if you
general
trim,
anecdote.
apologies for the dogs, that may be the soundtrack of this podcast, but Paul, if you trim that out like that, my thinking at a track like this, which is long straights and then chicanes, is that you would have a tendency to be a little harder on your tires and with understeer, and maybe the front end's drifting a little bit, and you just don't have that downforce. But it didn't really seem to hamper him too much. Maybe that's why he had the blisters sort of appear on his front left mediums. I guess maybe that would be understandable. But despite that, he was fast as the McLaren's when he was on the hard compounds and they were on softs, which might suggest also here the compounds that Pirelli brought, there wasn't a big pace delta between the compounds themselves.
Right. Yeah, that and the tire wasn't as important here.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that did play into the differential between the Red Bull and the McLaren. We know that the McLaren's, it's one of its big aces in its bag is how to keep that tire at its peak performance for a much longer time than anyone. That's allowed them to stretch the gap with the others. But the tire just wasn't a big differentiator. So I think that's something definitely Red Bull were keeping in mind, and definitely what played into the race as well, and didn't allow the McLarens to claw back that pace and not allow them to close in, allowed Max just to kind of let the pure pace of that car without the detriment of a lot of deg kind of play into his hands.
Yeah, he eventually boxed for those hards, And then he clawed back the time as he was running third very quickly. And then he not only covered a normal pit stop, but even the safety car, which would be a 13, 14-second delta, and he covered that too.
Now, if the safety car had come out and they were on new softs and he was on, they might have been a different story if they'd all been bunched back together. But if it was a virtual safety car or something like that, for sure he was still going to have the advantage.
Yeah. There's some thought. My hunch would be that the Red Bull pace here was certainly a track specific with a bespoke rear wing and that kind of thing and trimmed out.
Right.
Will we go to Baku and see this same kind of? A couple of races. I think George said that he was a little confused how Max could be just a couple of races ago losing by 40 seconds and then win by nearly 20 here, right?
Right.
So
it's radically crazy. It's crazy. In fact,
that's a complete flip-flop, right? So, so it would lead me to think this is going to be a little more track-specific, and maybe Baku, you might see the resurgence of McLaren there, but
perhaps. But I don't think Baku is super different than Monza in a way. There's not long sustained corners, so I think the aero package isn't going to be massively different, really.
Yeah.
So he may be in not a bad place.
He could be, Paul, and then we go to Singapore, and that's not radically different, from that standpoint. Go to a couple city circuits, so you never know.
Yeah, which kind of comes into play when we're talking about the championship, that everyone's discarded Max Verstappen from.
Yeah. At your own peril.
At your peril.
Yeah.
At your peril. Yeah, which we get into with this whole controversy. Controversy.
Yes, and Max said we brought an upgrade here, really worked. It took a step forward with the setup of the car. In general, car goes better in low to medium downforce tracks, and we just need to keep pushing and keep trying to improve as we have been. So, if you look at the balance of the next 8 races, and look for those lower downforce tracks. Maybe, to your point, Paul, maybe Max becomes a bit of a factor again. It's hard to tell. Hard to tell. Teammate Yuki Tsunoda. Yuki started in the points, ran there early on, lost out to Antonelli, and then had that moment with Lawson, which seemed kind of goofy for either of them to get involved with. That dropped him out of the points. It's a harsh result, Paul, down in P13 when your teammate just won the race by nearly 20 seconds.
It sure is.
I'll tell you a sad sight to see. I was watching Ted's Notebook, and they were there for the team photograph, right? And the whole Red Bull team got there, and then, the drivers come kind of at the last, and Laurent comes in. And so there's the current son of Didi, the owner, part of Red Bull in the center. He's with Max, and they got the sign and the trophy, and there's Laurent. Yuki at the very far right side, and he's just in the front row, kind of knelt down, po-faced, just kind of sitting there. And they can kind of wave, and he goes, "Nah, it's all right." Yuki's done. He's done.
Yeah.
That's over.
Yeah, that's sad, but it's the results are the results.
Yeah.
That is for sure what's happening.
Yeah. So, terrific performance by Max. Let's jump into McLaren. You got Lando Norris in P3, P2, Oscar Piastri in P3. I'm going to try to get the English out here. Hold on. Lando's start saw him running into the grass, being squeezed by a track that went from 3 lanes to 2, effectively. He gained the lead due to Max running wide. Max ceded that position, but then he lost that lead pretty soon after Max repassed him and took the lead and never really looked back. At that point, they were running along somewhere in the middle of that stint. They started asking and debating with Lando about running, long on those mediums, and then changed to softs to see if, you're trying to throw everything at Max, and if he changes and goes to, they were radioing that, thinking, if I'm with the McLaren hat on, I'm thinking, okay, I don't care if Red Bull hears we're thinking about going to softs, because chances are they put softs on their car, they'll chew them up, right?
Yeah.
So, and if they go hards, then us on softs, maybe we'll have a little bit of a tire delta, who knows? I was wondering at the time, Paul, and maybe they didn't, but at the time I thought they were leaving it a bit too long to box both cars for softs. But then, I don't know. Maybe not. I think in hindsight, now that I've thought about it, maybe it wasn't too long. Maybe they were trying to cover for safety cars, cover for virtual safety cars, something that might come up. Yeah, I don't know. What you?
Well, because I think they had nothing to lose and they had nothing to gain by putting
boxing
those on
early.
too early.
Yeah,
They weren't going to win it by boxing early, and then so they had to try and wait it out, hope to get that pit stop delta, and then have the tire advantage.
Yeah,
but if you pitted too early, you would definitely not have that either. Quite honestly, so I'm sure they had a lap that they were like, okay, well that's it.
Yeah,
we're just not, and a gap between them and Max that it's really not going to gain us anything by keep carrying on with this idea. And this is the time to put the softs on and hope something happens. But by the time they put softs on, there was no yellow, there was no delta they made up for with a full course yellow or anything. So then they were just kind of finishing off the race at that point.
Yeah, and I don't recall. They could have been running also to protect themselves from boxing and traffic and that kind of thing. And I'm sure they were thinking, Charles Leclerc was back there behind Oscar, and that's a potential threat. And
I didn't see him being a threat, though. Did you?
Not really.
I mean, I didn't think he was even close to being a threat.
Yeah, I've read some commentary from the pundits in the paddock that felt like, had they not boxed Oscar first, Charles would have got around him. I don't know that that's how I was seeing the race.
I didn't see that at all.
Yeah.
I didn't. Obviously, the controversy started with the boxing at Oscar first, and I just didn't see the necessity for it, quite honestly. And then it opened a whole barrel of worms that we saw all the way to the end and after the end.
It did. Lando, they were discussing with Lando. Lando said, go ahead and box Oscar first to help him cover Leclerc. Right. But during Lando's stop a lap later, an errant wheel gun cost him time, nearly 5 seconds or change, and he came out behind Oscar, which wasn't supposed to happen. The team asked Oscar to swap positions. He did, giving Lando P2. And a 3-point gain in the title hunt as he couldn't match Max. So Lando ended up in P2. Now, there's a lot of factors I think that are playing into this, and I think Total Wolff probably said it right, that they've set a precedent here that's going to be very difficult to manage for the balance of the season. Mm-hmm. It's one thing to manage the race on track, but to manage the off-track incidents are another. And it seemed Oscar wasn't initially too jazzed about moving over for Lando, but he kind of said, well, I thought we agreed that a slow stop's part of racing. I don't know what's changed, but if you want me to do it, I'll do it. And he did. The team felt it was the right thing to do, and he complied, settled for P3. The question is, did the team discuss this, and did they change their mind? Did they say that slow stops are part of racing, and that's, so be it? And now they changed their mind. I'm not exactly sure. No one really knows. Although I can't tell, Paul, if I'm watching the first team in decades or perhaps ever to successfully manage two number one drivers, or if they're digging themselves a hole that will eventually be exposed as fanciful thinking on their part. I'm not sure what we're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, they opened the Pandora's box when they initiated the Oscar pit earlier, which I said I think was not necessary.
Yep.
But then they did promise to Lando that Oscar would not undercut you.
Yep.
Right. So the verbiage, they kind of said a lot of stuff, and a lot of promises were made, and the botched pit stop. If it had been a 10-second stop, I don't think there would have been a call.
Yeah.
But because they came out in very close proximity, I think that's why the call was made. They'd promised there wouldn't be an undercut. If Norris had taken his rightful pit stop first, would the Oscar have got the botched stop? I mean, that's just hearsay, right? But it's they said a lot of things, made a lot of promises during the race that they kind of had to stick to. And obviously that's, and not expecting there to be a box pit stop, not expecting Oscar have to relinquish the position. So it's tough. And you know, I look back to, I'm going back to the deal I talked about with Max. Everyone's discounted the Red Bull. Everyone's discounted Max for the championship. They're like, which one's going to win the championship, Oscar or Lando? Well, we've seen McLaren turn cars around to be ultimately competitive when they look completely useless.
Yep.
And I am not going to discount Red Bull. I'm definitely not going to discount Max from turning their season around.
They could.
And if they turn their season around and Max starts winning races all the way through the end, he could be a part of the championship hunt again. And all this messing around could come back to hurt them. Mm-hmm. Something we always were upset, well, you weren't probably, but when Ferrari were always, Barrichello, you need to, you know, when Schumacher was 40 points in the lead of the championship, but Barrichello still had to give up the win to Schumacher till he won the championship, right? They made sure the championship was won.
Yes.
Before they started doing any of those things. And what would happen if Max turned his season around, got competitive, and then all this messing around ended up being Max won the championship by 2 points from Oscar that he should have had by keeping that position at Monza.
Yeah,
right. Just a thought. I mean, I'm not saying it's likely to happen. It's very unlikely to happen, but it can happen. And that's why Ferrari always made double sure that they didn't leave any points on the table to win a championship with.
Right.
And, you know, in my mind, Oscar's got the upper hand here. And I'm that he could have said no.
Yep.
What's McLaren going to do? Let Oscar go?
Right.
It would be stupid to let Oscar go.
Yep.
I mean, in my mind, Oscar is the better driver, the better complete package right now than Lando is. And if I was in McLaren, I'd be putting all my money behind Oscar. But
I would argue,
going to do that.
I would argue, Paul, that if this was for the race win, Oscar may have said no.
Right.
He might have.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, as I always say in our little team meetings, I don't always say it, but I say it on occasion, and if it's poignant, is people celebrate race wins, but they remember championships.
Yeah.
And championships are where are made by points. So you don't give up any points, whether it's the second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a difficult situation. They have set that precedent of trying to, you know, treat both their kids the same, and we love you both equally. Yep. And maybe they can keep it playing, but I think in the end, something's going to crack, and one of them's going to not want to take it anymore.
Yeah, I agree.
And I imagine it's Oscar, and I would imagine any team on the grid would be sitting there with open arms welcoming him.
Yeah. I would imagine it'd be Oscar too, and there's kind of a reason I say that. They asked him, if you remember on Saturday in Q2 when Lando looked at risk of being out, they asked Oscar to, first of all, in the race, seed P2, which he gave up 3 points in the title hunt, right?
Yeah.
Now, that's probably why he did it, because it was difference between P2 and P3, not a P1 and P2, right? Probably why it didn't bother.
Is it 3 points, or is it when with the swing with his opponent gaining, it's more than that, right?
What do you have? 34 points heading in. Now he's, 31? Is that right?
Yeah, but he would have gained. It's just the way you look at championships. But if you give up 3 points, you're basically giving up 6 because getting the extra 3. Right?
Yeah, gotcha. So he seeded P2. I think, in my mind, Oscar is sort of setting this up for some serious leverage and pressure with the team.
Yeah.
Because if things aren't going well, think about Saturday. They asked him to give Lando a tow. Why would he want to give his main rival a tow?
Right.
To get him into Q2, right? But he did. And if it was me, I wouldn't give Lando a tow. He's out in Q2. He starts in P10 or worse. Perfect for me, right? But the team wanted to give him a tow, and he did. A. Second, they asked him to cede P2 for Lando, and he did. So my thinking is that when things if they aren't going well for him later in the season, he's gonna redeem these coupons. And and we know Mark Webber doesn't suffer fools lightly, and we know he'll be draconian in his advice to Oscar for sure.
Yeah.
And I think Oscar's thinking, hey, I gave him a toe to get him in a Q2. I ceded the position because you couldn't do a fast pit stop. That's not on me. I've been a team player here, right? So when it comes down to the championship, I'm not monkeying around. The hell with Lando. I'm going for the championship, and you got to figure out which horse your cart's going to be attached to.
Yeah, maybe saving those cards till McLaren win the championship and then bringing them out. I mean, it'd be smart thinking.
Yeah.
And he's definitely a smart thinker.
Yeah,
so,
he is.
Yeah, it's just, you look back at when Kimi Räikkönen won the World Championship?
07.
Because Alonso and Hamilton were having fights amongst themselves.
Yep.
Just make sure history doesn't repeat itself. That's all.
Yeah. Another good example of managing two number one drivers, right?
Yeah, right.
Rosberg
great.
and Hamilton, another example of managing two number one drivers. It's just very rare you can get this sort of equity back. With all the best will in the world, I appreciate what Andre and Zach are trying to do, but it's very difficult. Let's talk about Oscar real quick. I do want to talk about the tussle with Leclerc, Paul. At the very beginning, they had a back and forth for third place. He had to pass Leclerc twice to get the solid P3. But how did you see that back and forth? I'll talk about it. Let me jump just ahead to tell you what Charles said. Charles said he had a good start, jump Piastri. He said he was trying everything to stay in front out there. They were both capitalizing on each other's mistakes. He eventually lost P3. Charles said he was even basically resorting to rally driving out there, trying to stay in front of him. But how did you see that incident with? I mean, Charles knew. He knew he was ragged. But how did you see that tussle?
Yeah, I mean, it was a great move by Oscar at the beginning because we found out. You can get stuck behind someone. It can be a serious detriment for your whole race, and being able to dispatch, someone in your way of getting back to the tail of Norris was super, super important. Yeah. Unfortunately, I think when they came down that next lap, he overcommitted to try and then, go for Norris and open himself up for counterattack from Charles, and Charles ultimately took that, executed it, got in his way, and made his life a little bit of a hell, and caused for quite a big gap between him and Lando the whole time till he could get back by Charles again. So you've always got to be careful and weighing up your options on attack and defense. You don't want to attack to the detriment of opening yourself up for then getting passed by someone up behind. And I think he kind of took that bait just a little bit. I think if he thought about it again, I think he would say, okay, I'm just going to hold back, make sure Charles stays behind me, and just see what happens between Max and Lando here. Yep. Rather than try and win the world on lap 2. I think it was just a split decision that probably wasn't the best one to do. We all want to win, we all want to pass everybody, but you definitely don't want to make yourself vulnerable to attack from behind as well while doing that. And if you do make it that way, you have to be very succinct and make sure that you absolutely pull that move off, which he didn't, and that caused a bit of a kerfuffle for his first, third of the race or whatever, trying to mess around with Charles.
Yeah, let's talk about Ferrari. Charles in P4, Lewis in P6. As we were just talking about Charles, he had that good stop, jump Piastri, and then Oscar got him back, but then Charles got him back around for P3. Charles, like I said, he was resorting to rally drive. He was ragged. Yeah. At this point, as the race matured, also after that dust settled, the race matured a little bit. Charles found himself really kind of defending from Russell mid-race and managed to hang on for P4. I would say that for both he and Lewis, while it's not a podium, I do feel like at Monza trimmed out, the Ferrari looked a little better. It was super fast in straights. And I think Oscar had made the comment, he's like so fast in straights and so slow in the corner, yeah, which is probably their problem. But
yeah, which is, that's the compromise and setup.
Yeah.
I mean, if the car isn't quite there compared to who they're racing up against front, you try and get something else, make it awkward for them to get by you. You never know what's going to happen, but ultimately they probably went with too low a downforce setup, but maybe that was the best they could get for lap time, but ultimately not the best you can to fight a McLaren.
Yeah, for sure. Lewis started in 10th. I thought Lewis, on balance this weekend, just looked more comfortable in the car. However, this setup, I think he felt better in it in this config. He clawed his way back up to Russell, and that started to give George something to focus on instead of trying to get around Charles. He had Lewis behind him in his mirror, so he had to really start defending from that point. He said maybe there were a few things they could have tried to get by George, maybe a couple things they could have done differently with timing or strategy, but he said ultimately 6 is about what they could manage. Although I felt like his first stint had a lot of promise, but the pace kind of stalled. I think when he got up amongst the faster cars, then his pace stalled out. But,
right. It took.
Yeah, he did look good. He was on it first part of the for opening stint anyway. Yeah,
obviously getting that penalty put him back amongst the pigeons.
Yeah,
and had to fight through them. You always look good when you're shooting fish in a barrel, but. Not that it's to that extent, but yeah, he did look good. Probably had the same pace as Charles ultimately, but starting from where he did, he couldn't really compete with that. But I think it was a pretty good job. The confidence side of Hamilton's been pretty low. Yeah. So hopefully this boosts it a little bit, just to not necessarily get a spectacular result, but get a competitive result against his teammate. Yeah,
I agree. He said, quote, "We did a solid job today. I felt really comfortable in the car. The penalty made a good result challenging, but I gave it everything out there to deliver the strongest performance possible." And I think he did. I think he delivered. So like I said, while not a podium for Ferrari at their home race, at least they bounced back from a dual DNF. So that's that's progress as promised.
That is progress is progress.
Yes, that's progress. What are you going to do? Let's see, Mercedes. Let's see.
Get down.
We had George Russell P5, Kimi Antonelli P9. George tried to get by Leclerc early on, and then the team tried to box him for the undercut, but it didn't work, Paul. He got stuck in a DRS train. He got stuck in traffic back there. And what do you do? I don't know. I saw, yeah, right. I saw some video of him later on the hard compounds, and they were pretty gnarly. They were pretty chewed up. Yeah. So I'm wondering if they didn't really have much of a choice. They tried to find a big enough gap that he could box into, but at that point, they had to get him off the mediums and get him on hard. So he said, look, P5 is probably the max we could have got anyway. Simply the car isn't quick enough, bottom line. And he stumped how Red Bull could be 40 seconds behind a couple of races ago and 20 seconds ahead.
Yeah, it's nuts.
And he said it's a shame to lose ground to Ferrari in the Constructors' title hunt, which stings.
Yeah. I mean, George is always doing a good job, honestly. I mean, I'm glad he did get re-signed for him, because I think he fully deserves that status.
For sure.
He's shown his pace, as the best option for Mercedes. I thought it was crazy that they're even contemplating. Well, not crazy they're contemplating getting Max, but solid job.
It was a good job. Kimi had a poor start, losing some positions, fought his way back up to P8. Things went pear-shaped for him when Albon got on his tail, and Kimi's defensive move garnered him a penalty, dropped him down to P9. He said, I had a bad start with too much wheel spin. I lost a lot of places. and that obviously really compromised my race. Unfortunately, I do see some commentary in the press from Toto that isn't quite as glowing about Kimi.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sort of he felt, that it was a combination of everything, the car, chassis, the drivers. Well, it wasn't George, I can tell you that.
It wasn't George, yeah. He's maximizing the car.
I'm sorry, Tony, excuse me. When you say drivers, is that plural or singular? Because it wasn't George. I think George has been keeping you in that constructor's hunt all year long. So it's not George.
Sure has.
It's tough. It's tough for Kimi, but to be fair, I thought he had a pretty decent race on balance. He had that penalty with Albon, but I think, he finished up in P8, penalty P9. He needed that. He put it in the gravel on Saturday, or was it Saturday? Yeah. And he's had a ragged few races, and he just turned 19, Paul.
I know. I just think they put him there too quick, too soon.
I'm wondering. I think there's a few people asking that.
I think we said it at the time, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, why would you expose someone like that? We know it hasn't really worked out. Yeah. The pressure's on. Talented guy for sure.
Oh, for sure.
Potential. Absolutely a race winner in the future.
Yeah.
Championship. We'll see. But it's a good idea to give them a baseline without that kind of exposure and pressure.
Yeah.
Like the Williams seat, put signs in the Mercedes. Make perfect sense to me. And I don't think Sainz would have turned down a Mercedes GP seat, even if it was supposedly temporary for a couple of years. But
right.
I just think sometimes you expose them, you break their spirit, break their composure, and that can maybe have ongoing effects through their career.
Well,
really.
We've seen that at the Racing Bulls, Paul. The Toro Rossos, Nick DeVries. We saw a couple of drivers. I think it's difficult for Liam. I think
Gasly and Albon and all those guys.
And some of them, some of the drivers were there and didn't really recover. Like Gasly or Albon have. Some of them were in damaged goods. Very difficult situation. I don't know.
The mindset and the confidence is a massive part of driving.
Yeah.
Right? It's not just about quick reflexes and bravery. It's the having your mindset to be able to pound around there and get the most out of everything and be fully aware and extract everything, work within the team. All this stuff comes from confidence within yourself, to ask for the right things, to do the right things at the right time, not be pressured. And I just think everyone is too quick to find the next wonderkind at the youngest age possible. Right? We want to get them first. But even if he was ready for Formula One, I don't think Kimi or nearly anyone would have been ready for that kind of seat, and even Max wasn't, right? He did
I agree.
a year and a half in the Toro Rosso seat, and without the big exposure, without the the floodlights on him, and worked his way to that, and he was ready when he was ready, but he wasn't ready from day one.
No, and I think you and I, and certainly Grace and I, we've been pretty consistent. I think this, even when they brought Kimi Räikkönen in super young, Max Verstappen in super young,
Sauber,
you think, Max came in and he made a lot of errors in the early days. Hit a lot of people in the early days, and I think the overall thing, and my point is, one thing to be super fast, which I think Antonelli is. He's a super fast, good racer. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think you can shortcut racecraft wisdom over time. No. That's a time issue, and I don't think you can just Google it. I think it's difficult, and some I think are quicker at it than others. Trying to gain that racecraft. I think of Charles Leclerc. kind of buckling down at Sauber and then really kind of correcting some of those things that he was
But
having.
even then, that took a while.
It did take a while.
Half a season of
and that was at
not
Sauber,
very good
right?
stuff.
Yeah.
that was
So
at Sauber, yeah.
it takes time, you know. I think guys like Bortoleto, I think guys like Ollie Bearman, you know, pounding out the miles at Haas. I think that's the right thing. But it's you know, Franco Colapinto, you toss him in. You know, it just takes time to build that racecraft, and some do it a little quicker, and some never do it at all.
Yeah, and so I think Toto, even talking about him, was like, well, you know, you're kind of to blame.
Yeah, I mean, this is your guy.
If these things aren't going perfect for you.
Yeah, that's your guy. Let's see. Let's talk about Williams, Alex Albon P7, Carlos Sainz P11. You got Alex started on the hards, ran long, so this allowed him to get into the points early on. Once he got to Antonelli, he was pushed wide, but a penalty for Kimi left Alex in P7. So that was good. Good result for Alex getting up into the points. And I wasn't quite sure. You know, typically we talked about this, Paul. You know, the Williams typically kind of trimmed out. They're pretty darn quick, you know, at tracks like this. What I wasn't sure about is you knew they'd trim them out, of course, but I was expecting them to be quick. I just wasn't sure how their tire wear would be in that config. And to get Alex up into P7, I think it's a yeoman's job. A great drive.
Yeah, no, it is a great job by Albon and the team.
Yeah,
we talked about it over the year. I think how they've become a good all-round team, not a one-trick pony.
Yeah,
and I was nearly expecting them not to be very good here because that transition can be tough, and the hardest thing to do is to make a car super efficient on fast tracks like that. That would be nearly the hardest thing to do, and still have a good all-round car.
Yeah.
But it seems the progression they make on the engineering side is very impressive and probably looks good for what they're going to come up with for the new rules as well.
Yeah, fingers crossed on that.
Yeah.
I think, you make a good point there. And for Carlos Sainz...
Who gets a penalty? Me? Are you joking? You're joking. I mean, it's the most ridiculous thing I've heard in my life.
I agree, Carlos.
He always sounds like the guy from Office Space and the stapler.
He does.
Always.
Hello?
He does.
Every
It's so
time.
funny. I agree with you, Carlos. Why they gave Ollie a penalty for that, I have no idea.
I don't either.
No idea. You can't just
That's
go into
silly.
the
It
corner.
took a while too to get that
It
penalty
did. But
figured out. And
I watched it and rewatched it, and you know, he goes into the corner. Ollie's there on the left, and he just turned, you know, dramatically into the apex and hit it.
yeah. I mean, there's one thing you talk about. Oh, you have to be alongside the mirrors, but Ollie's not doing the passing.
Yeah.
Ollie's being passed, and he can't literally brake harder than he already is because he's already at the maximum. And if someone chops off your nose, that's on them, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. Right.
yeah, I don't understand. Yeah, I didn't dig that one so much.
I didn't understand it either. I'm starting to think that the stewards and the regulations and everything all, you know, I just kind of feel like it's all favoring and leaning to the car who's trying to pass.
Yeah,
You know, because they want
Right.
overtaking.
yeah.
So I kind of feel like, I don't know. I don't think Ollie did anything wrong. He's there. Carlos knows he's
No.
there. Give him a little room.
Yeah.
Race it out.
You got to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing to be right or wrong. It's another thing to be backwards in the
Yeah.
gravel trap. Right?
And the counter-
And Sainz didn't make a good choice either way.
Yeah. And the counter argument, I get it. You could say, hey, look, Ollie should have backed out. Well, if we're going to apply that, there are so many incidents that I could say, well, Lewis should have backed out. You know, when he hit Albon twice, should have backed out. Max should have backed out. You know, really, is that where we're going? You know, if you're getting passed, you have to back out of it. I don't know.
Yeah, but as I said, when you're maximum braking, which you should be going into a corner, you can't back out more because you're at your maximum.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, good
there's
point.
nothing he could physically do.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. Carlos had a decent race going. Started on the mediums, then he and Ollie got together. They both spun. Thankfully, they continued. It didn't bring out a yellow or anything like that, which is good.
Yeah.
Carlos,
McLaren will ruin that one. Though.
I know. McLaren were thinking,
They're like, yes. I can just imagine the elation in the McLaren pit, like, yes.
I know. Free pit stop. Oh,
somebody stole it. Somebody stole.
Park it up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. McLaren was just salivating over that one. Didn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
I also noticed Carlos also failed to rejoin the track per the rules on the rejoin lane, but they didn't call a penalty on that. I'm not picking on Carlos. I'm just saying I noticed that too. Let's talk about Sauber because there's a lot to talk about here. You got Gabriel Bortoleto, P8. So much to talk about. Nico Hulkenberg, a DNS. That's right, folks, a DNS. Let's talk about Gabby up front. Scored points again, Paul. I have to think this young man is confirming his challenge for Rookie of the Year accolades. I mean, he's coupled that P8 with another great qualifying performance. That, Paul, is 3 points finish in the last 4 races. And it's no wonder he's being kind of wooed by other teams. And it's in the Sauber, Paul. You know, he's doing so well.
Scourge of the grid.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so, hat tip on a couple parts. Hat tip for this team, Mattia Binotto, Jonathan Wheatley. This is the car they had, and they're doing okay. And they seem to be kind of moving in the right direction.
Got a podium with Hulkenberg. And
got a podium with Hulk.
Points weekly.
Yeah, and Gabby scoring points. I couldn't be more excited for this team. I really couldn't. Didn't go well for Nico. He had a DNS. They had a brand new engine they put into the pool, and on the formation lap, they saw some major hydraulic issues, so they don't want to damage that new engine. They boxed him as a DNF. It was unfortunate, but I know Isaac Hadjar gets all the accolades right now for all the right reasons. I think Isaac's doing a great job, but I got to be honest, Bortoleto is not that far off getting those.
No, I think it's a mighty battle. Yeah, I think they both are doing an amazing job, really, with the cars they've got and their newness to Formula One. Bortoleto is probably the big. I don't know which one's the biggest surprise, really. I mean, just doing anything with the Sauber is a surprise, really. We know that the racing bulls, they've got a good pedigree and some good support behind them, but it seemed like this was like a last year of the Sauber, let's just get ready, wait till Audi come around and really start doing stuff. But the team are doing a great job in working with what they've got, and Bortoleto is another impressive guy coming from F2 and just jumping right into the competitiveness of Formula One, which, it's surprising and I'm excited to see it, really.
Yeah, me too. Hat tip to all the men and women at that team. You guys are doing a terrific job. Super excited about what you're delivering on track, and you got 2 great drivers. And it just poised very well for that transition to Audi. I think Audi can feel confident that they have 2 really good drivers. You got a veteran like Nico Hulkenberg who qualifies like a demon. You've got Gabby, who's just come on leaps and bounds this year. So good for them. I'm super excited for that team and all the men and women there.
Absolutely.
Racing Bulls, Liam Lawson P14, Isaac Hadjar P10. Liam, not quite sure why the team started Liam on softs. That clearly wasn't the right call. They boxed him on lap 10 for fresh tires. Then he had to go, all the way to the end. That dropped him down the order and into a DRS train. You're always going to struggle to recover from there. I get it. They're trying to mix strategy up a little bit, so I understand what Alan and team were doing there. But boy, that was a tough deal. And then Liam and Yuki had that moment clashing with each other, which didn't help matters for either of them. And it doesn't help when your teammate started from pit lane and scored.
Yes, that's not good.
That's brutal.
No.
Yeah.
That is kind of brutal. It's a tough race, but. I think Isaac kind of lucked into where he ended up in the end. Really. Yeah. So I don't think it's a big detriment, But
he got a. Well, yeah. You're right. Yeah. You're right. Yeah. Speaking of him, tough qualifying. He had the engine change that left him started from pit lane. A start on the hard compounds was what Liam should have done, or on the mediums. And made his way back to the points on a long stint. Good drive, good recovery drive from him, no less. So,
Yeah, no less. Yeah, a couple people dropped out, and some other teams, got penalties and had issues and this and that. But yeah, I mean, just scoring points from pit lane is very impressive at a track where there wasn't a lot of movement, right?
Yeah,
wasn't
right.
a lot of, apart from Hamilton was probably the biggest charger up the field, but it was, it's very much a DRS train kind of track, and where you are after lap 3 is kind of going to play a lot into
where you finish
at the end of the race. Yeah.
Right. Let's see. Haas, Esteban Ocon, P15, Ollie Bearman, P12. Esteban started on the hard compounds, ran the longest stint of anyone. He achieved a 5-second penalty for his battle with Stroll, so the team ran long, hoping for some sort of safety, kind of the McLaren strategy here, looking for a safety car or something, right? Just didn't come.
Something.
Yeah, and by the time he did box, he sunk like a stone. So driver 1 got a penalty dropping out of the points, so hold that thought. I'll get to that when we cover Ollie. So, yeah, it was an otherwise Esteban race. He said we tried as a team to try and stay out and do something different. The tires were getting better every lap, so there was no point in boxing and losing at all. We stayed out, so we stayed out long. That's what he said.
Yeah. He's not really doing anything magical at that team, is he, Ocon?
Yeah.
Not that I expected anything magical, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
But it does seem like his teammate is the guy that rises to an occasion when the occasion is warrant.
Yeah, you make a good point. When there's magic to be deployed, it typically is on Ollie's side of the garage.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah, well, let's talk about Ollie. Ollie was running well early on, but ended up in a clash with Carlos. That dropped him back, and then he got the penalty, which hurt even more. And he also got 2 points off his driver's license. Now he's only 2 points away from a race ban.
Oof.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was a racing incident. That's a bogus penalty.
I definitely think that, and then getting the penalty. He may have been in the points, right? Without that penalty, I believe. So,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So driver number 2 gets a penalty. I guess my point here is the drivers are going to ping pong off each other or other people. The team's really going to struggle to harvest points. I would imagine that Komatsu is going to have some strong words about that. You can't, whether you wanted to or whether you deserved. It's just one of those things. They're living on a knife's edge on pace and in the Constructors' Championship, and both drivers going into weekends and both getting penalties is a tough weekend.
Yeah. I said I don't, but I wouldn't hold Bearman to anything like that. And the Ocon thing is just typical Ocon. Really.
Yeah, it kind of is. I agree with you. Alpine,
boisterous young man.
He is a boisterous. I mean, there's a little part of me that thinks we're seeing a kinder, gentler Esteban, but anyway.
We're just not seeing him. That's the problem.
Wait a minute. Does the kinder, gentler Esteban just not score points? We'll go back to the being the jerk and being aggressive.
He just kind of fizzles out, I feel.
Yeah, I think I honestly think Esteban can deliver, and I think he is a good driver. I just think I think that's I don't know. There's something going on there.
I just think he's got an edge to him that
he
makes
does.
him make bad choices.
I don't know if it's red mist or what's going on. But he does. He has
a chip on his shoulder, I'll tell you that.
He definitely does, and it kind of manifests itself on track and not in a positive way. Yeah,
and it could have to do with. I mean, obviously we've seen stuff from when he was in karting and everything, but all these guys knew each other, and different people are having a lot more success than he has. But I think it's because they've earned it, not because he's been mistreated. But that adds to his frustration and his chip.
Yeah, and they didn't bully their way into where they're at either.
They did it with their speed. Yeah.
Let's see. Alpine Pierre Gasly, P16. Franco Colapinto, P17. Pierre started on the hard, started from pit lane, having taken a new engine. There was a moment I kind of thought he might do a Hadjar. He might work his way in for a point. He was running up there, but then with the cars with fresh tires, they started making quick work of him. He kind of sunk from there. They really could have used a safety car or red flag to make that strategy work, and they didn't get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately. for Pierre.
Yes. They throw everything they can, and he does everything he can, but sometimes that car just doesn't quite have any potential at all.
Yeah, I think that's one thing. Not to sound like a fanboy of Pierre's, but I honestly believe whatever the strategy is or however the car is behaving, you're going to get the absolute best effort out of Pierre. I mean, he's going to try to make the absolute best of whatever it is. And he just signed a new long-term contract with them.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad about that, honestly.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping he'd get a shot at a better team,
I was hoping so, too.
Yeah, because I think he can deliver. I do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it may not have worked out Red Bull last time. I think he would be a much stronger character at Red Bull this time.
I totally agree. I think Yuki is done. And I think if you'd have got Pierre Gasly and put him up there with Max, I think that would have been a different story.
Yeah, not even the same caliber driver.
No way.
Gasly,
Yeah. Let's see. Franco started on mediums, so the team split the strategy between the two of them. He couldn't make much of it, lacking pace and getting mired in the traffic and DRS train. He said, we lacked pace, struggled to make much progress. We made the race quite long without much action. We tried our best, stuck to a conventional strategy, but in the end, a difficult 17th-place finish, end quote.
Mm-hmm. Yes, difficult.
So, you go into the last 8 races.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I gotta be honest with you.
Something.
I'd put Jack Doohan in there. I would put Jack in there. I think he gave him short shrift, and on balance, Franco compared to Pierre, Jack was closer, and I'd put Jack in there. That's what I would.
I agree with you.
Yep.
I would definitely do something different.
Yep, I would. I don't think we didn't have enough time to see everything out of Jack. I know he balled it up in the wall because he didn't turn DRS, but, he's a rookie.
Yeah. Right. I mean, look at Lawson.
Yeah.
I mean, he's not perfect for sure, but giving him enough time, he's pretty competitive.
Yeah, he's gotten much more competitive. You're right.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
I just don't.
Yeah.
I think there's much better options than Colapinto, not just Doohan, but I just.
Oh, yeah, there's other drivers for sure.
Yeah.
I was just thinking somebody in your stable that you can make a quick change would be Jack.
Right.
Let's see. Aston Martin, Fernando at DNF, that hurt. Lance Stroll, P18, that hurt. Fernando was running well in the early stages of the race, hounding his young protege, Bortoleto.
Yeah, it's funny how those guys are always together, isn't it?
They are. It's so funny. But the team boxed him at the same time as Gabby. But there was such an Alonso move, right? So they come into the pit lane. Alonso doesn't brake. He just goes all the way up and jams on the brakes, so he's almost hitting the back of Gabby, but he closed that whole gap. Whatever gap he would have had is
used him as the pick for his... Yeah,
exactly.
Absolutely.
Totally eliminated any gap at all between him and Gabby heading into the pits. And I think it worked a treat because when they boxed him, he came out and he was ahead of Gabby, right? They had a slightly better pit stop. There was no gap between them as they came in, but it's such a veteran move, Paul. And then it worked, and so he beat the Sauber out of the pits, and then came around, hit the curbing, broke the right rear suspension, game over. He was not happy.
Yeah, that was an interesting break, but I think on that curbing, at the high edge where people don't normally run, he would have been better off for going all the way over it, but he was just at the top of where it's the bumpiest and not as polished,
not worn down as much.
Yeah, it just caused some kind of resonation that just kind of ripped the suspension apart, which is nuts. But
yeah, it is crazy. Yeah. Lance had a really long stint, but when he stopped, there was an issue with the wheel gun. He also had a wheel gun issue that dropped him all the way to the back and out of the points. So tough race for him as well.
Yeah. Yes.
There you go. Not a banner weekend for Aston Martin at WEC or F1.
No, thank you. DNFs all round for everybody.
Rubbing it in, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
Tough.
I appreciate that.
That's tough. But you guys do look really good in that Valkyrie. I think you guys have done some great work. When you look at the beginning of the season to where you are now, it looks great.
Yeah.
I'm
excited.
And no mystery here, it still sounds great.
It does sound great, but I said I kind of get tired of hearing about this. The sound is awesome, but it's like we need to back it up with results. And we're getting there. I think I'm looking forward to Indy.
Yeah, me too. You sent me the link of the onboards, and I was watching it. It's so cool that to hear that engine and watch. It was just so cool. Good stuff. All right, well, let's give out some awards. We tend to do that. The first award we give out is it's Move of the Race.
They have pizzazz.
They do indeed have pizzazz. Paul, Move of the Race. What'd you pick?
I'm giving it to Oscar on Charles because I think it was a decisive, very pertinent thing to do, even though he kind of let the side down on the next lap. It was a very heads up that, hey, I need to do it now. And he did it, and he did it in a place that doesn't normally happen. So, once again, Oscar breaking the mold.
Yes, Oscar being Oscar. I'm going to give it for Oscar and Norris for the swap. I think that was kind of the controversial move of the race. And
definitely the controversial move of the race.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see if that isn't right. If Toto's not right, they've set a precedent that's going to be very hard to unravel from later in the season. We'll see. And
very
Toto's
hard to keep the tabs. They've got like a whole chart out there. Who's got what bonus? Oh, well, you did this and this lap. See, it's like a straight line, folks. We're being completely fair.
Zach is an American. He grew up watching college football. They ought to put stars on their helmets, whenever they make a great tackle or whatever it is. And you put stars. That way you can see who has the most, team player moments.
There you go.
Look at it. Oh, so that's what I had. Next award is another one of our favorites, Donkey of the Race. That's right.
We'll do it live!
Yep.
Not good enough, damn it! Not good enough!
Not good enough, Paul. What'd you get?
I'm giving it to the boo crowd.
Oh, yeah, the crowd booing
Boo crowd
Lando.
on the podium.
That was harsh.
Pretty inappropriate. Yes.
That was harsh.
It's like, not his call.
Yeah.
And as you said before, the podcast, what do you care?
Yeah.
Where's your Ferrari?
It's Monza.
Boo them.
Why are you so upset that Lando and Oscar swap position? You're Tifosi.
Yeah.
What do you care? You hope they go into full overdrive of drama.
Yeah, you should be encouraging this.
You should be encouraging more of it. If you're Tifosi, why are you booing? Yeah, I agree. I'm going to give it to Haas. I think, going into the weekend, trimming the car out, I kind of felt like they should have done better. And then both drivers walking away with penalties, dropping them out of the points is just a bad deal. So that was a ragged race for them. Let's see. And then finally, drive of the race.
You like my face? You like it?
We do, Sergio, and Cadillac might too.
Yeah, let's hope they do.
We were on the same sheet of music here, weren't we?
Yes, we were.
Yes.
Max. I mean, leading the team in a direction and executing that direction that he led the team to in setup and everything. That's why he's a champion, and that's why he keeps his level raising, quite honestly. And he was very down earlier in the season. Well, I'm never going to win a race this year. It's not in the cards. I didn't believe it. I don't know if he actually believed his words, but I certainly didn't.
No.
And he's proven himself wrong. And I've just got something in the back of my mind that he can kind of counterattack this McLaren group. So it's a low percentage, but I think he's going to make it a bit more interesting than people thought.
He may, and it's one of those things I was thinking when I was watching this. Okay, everybody's like, McLaren's the fastest car; it's the best car out there, and that's probably still true. But if you get the Red Bull set up and in a window on the track, it's all down to Max. And I just feel like what we saw this weekend was the Max factor, I just think he outdrove everybody. And I'm not saying, I'm not trying to be a fanboy on this, but if you really think about that, it's McLaren does have the fastest car. And at this track, it wasn't completely on song, no medium speed corners and that kind of thing. And I get it. But it's not to say that Max has the perfect car like he did a couple of years ago. His car isn't perfect either. So
just look at Yuki.
Yeah, look at Yuki, right? So it's not perfect either. And he finished 19 seconds ahead. It's just a Max factor. Yeah. It's incredible.
Yeah, it is
All right. Well, that's what we think about the race. We're always interested in what you think about the race, and you can tell us what you think about the race by going to theparkforme.com. Share your opinion with decorum and civility as always. You can also add comments on our Instagram page or X, accounts. You can go over to the TikTok account and check us out there. You can also leave a comment, leave a good rating on your favorite podcast player. That's always a big help and much appreciated. Again, huge thanks to our Patreon supporters for all of your love and care. Really appreciate that. I've been putting the videos up on Patreon as well as the podcast, and neither of them have any commercials. So all the Patreon supporters get to have the full podcast and the full recorded video with no commercials or ads. And so hopefully you guys are enjoying that. And we will be back. I'll find Grace. You know what Grace is going to want to talk about. She's going to want to talk about the camera at MotoGP focusing on Gunther Steiner, who is there this weekend. And she's going to have all kinds of Steiner insight, I'm sure.
Oh, my.
I know. I'll try hard not to turn this into...
Well, at least it means it's going to be too busy to do interviews in Formula One weekends.
Right.
Now we just need to give David Valzecchi a MotoGP team too to get rid of him.
Old Paul is so great and the Valkyrie is doing great until it didn't. So, yes, I agreed. So I'll try hard not to turn this podcast into a MotoGP podcast next week. But don't worry. Paul will return. We have the Azerbaijan Grand Prix in Baku coming up. Ooh. Hey, careful, Paul.
For you to say.
Yeah. And Paul will be back with all of his cunning insight, and we'll get all the updates from Heart of Racing, Aston Martin Racing Team. And until we come back next week, this is Todd, a.k.a. Negative Camber, saying so long.
That's it, man. Game over, man. It's game over.